let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, fetishism, and everything plus size. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get into it. Today we're welcoming to the show Elisha.
Hello, my love. How are you?
I'm doing pretty okay. How are you doing yourself?
Doing good.
Doing good, babe. Listen, we're so happy to have you on the show because, baby, today we are going to be talking about your experience as a gainer in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, I've seen it contracted as USVI. How do you most comfortably refer to it? Would you say USVI? Would you say like USV? Like, is there like a nickname for the country? Like, how do you say it?
USVI is kind of like a standard whenever it comes to like anytime we try to identify ourselves, but we usually just say VI, just short for the Virgin Islands itself.
Okay, cool. So the USVI, we're here with you today to talk about life in the USVI. So, baby, go ahead and tell us all about where you're from. Tell us, what is the day-to-day culture like in the USVI?
Well, let me say the day-to-day culture is pretty simple. It's not too complex at all. You know, you wake up, you go to work, you get your lunch, you finish work, you go to bed. But usually, it's a lot different. Everyone has their own different things going on down there. So it's like, for instance, you got people that wake up, they go on the side of the road. Sometimes they have their trucks full with coconuts that they get from the trees, cut it, be selling coconut water on the side of the road, fresh, completely. You got others that, go into our schools, trying to empower our children to get more into the culture, trying to educate them more so that way when they leave the island, they're able to spread more about the culture onto the mainland, onto other little places whenever they feel like it. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Once you live in there for a good little while, yeah, it's a very pretty simple life.
And which island do you live on?
So I originate from St. Croix. That is, you could say, the big brother island out of the three.
Mm-hmm.
While St. Thomas is our sister island, which is our capital.
Yeah. I've visited the Virgin Islands before, both on cruises and then just as a vacation. We spent a couple of weeks on St. John, because my parents wanted to see like Trunk Bay and Great Cruise Bay and all like the famous beaches of that island. I preferred Cinnamon Bay actually. I thought Cinnamon Bay was gorgeous. I've been to St. Thomas. I've been to St. Croix. I've been to Jos Van Dyke, but that's one of the British ones. So like I've seen a little bit of, and to me it's always been paradise. Like I love going to the Virgin Islands. I think it's some of the most beautiful water and some of the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now I will ask you the question because with us, everyone who's born at St. Croix, we're identified as Crucians. Whereas everyone that's born at St. Thomas and St. John is identified as Tomians and Jonians.
Okay.
How did you enjoy the food in St. Thomas?
Oh God, can I remember that far back? I was 18. God, what did I eat? I know that I ate really well. I know that I enjoyed everything. Because we rented a villa, we also cooked. So we did some grocery shopping there. I do remember on St. John there was this little bar. I don't know if it still exists. It was kind of a hole in the wall, but it was run by two guys from mainland continental United States, and they had I just remember the drinks were really good. And I remember that I could drink because I was 18 and the drinking age was different there. So that was a novelty in itself. Yeah, I remember that I ate well. I just don't remember exactly what I ate. I'm sorry. That was a long time ago.
No, you're perfect. No, you're perfectly fine. The only reason why I asked that is because usually us Crucians always have a little feud with St. Thomas, because our food tastes better than their own, but they would never admit it.
Well, I think this is a question that's worth asking, right? Like, countries like the US Virgin Islands, it's not just one unanimous place. It is actually a microcosm of little groupings because of the literal island format. And there is that curiosity, like, if there is a sense of sibling rivalry or like contest, or is it's like, if you come to the US Virgin Islands, it's like you want to go to St. John for this because this is
Mm-hmm.
actually what they do really good at, and actually you want to go to St. Croix for this because this is what they really succeed at. So, I mean, you say that the Crucian food is better. What else do you think
Mm-hmm.
St. Croix does better than the other USVI counterparts?
I will say when it comes to St. Croix is more of a relaxation spot. If you want to, if you're coming for a vacation, you really just want to go to the beach, relax. There's not too much involved, too much that you have to really getting yourself involved with. That's St. Croix. Now, if you really want to get the tourist experience, you would go St. Thomas and St. John. That's the difference that we kind of have between the three islands. And a lot of us from St. Croix kind of do feel a little way about it because we don't have as much tourist attractions than St. Thomas, but we understand that our spot just for relaxing.
That's fair. And Tim, I know we often talk about this when it comes to these kinds of episodes. There's always a question of like, well, what are the stereotypes, right? And I've got to say, like, as a non-American, non-North American type person, like, I don't know any like specific Caribbean stereotypes or like, especially as specific as the USVI. In America, like, what are the stereotypes about?
I mean, I feel like it's just a general stereotype about people who come from the Caribbean, but I feel like it's aimed more at the Bahamas than it is like because I know that a lot of American tourists go to the USVI every year, and it's kind of become really Americanized. So I don't know if people have anything like stereotypical to say about people who live and have been raised on the island, like I feel like
Hmm.
they have far more to say about people from Jamaica or the Bahamas.
Okay. Because I suppose, like, obviously doing a little research for the episode, looking at some of the beaches, some of the views, like, gorgeous. So, I mean, the closest I could come up with for a stereotype for the USVI is like, oh, look, another gorgeous Caribbean place to live. That's about as good as I got. But Elijah, let's put it to you. Like, what would you say is the biggest misconception people have about the USVI?
The biggest misconception I can say is that people up to this day still does not think that we're US based. The US, we are very much US territory, and with that, anytime and someone hears my accent, they're just like, "Oh, you're from the Caribbean. Where are you from? Jamaica?"
Yeah, it's like I said, they just automatically will think of the first thing that pops into their head. They'll say, "Oh, you must be Jamaican," because as if that's the only island in the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I completely understand what you're saying about people don't think that, everyone who lives in the USVI are US citizens because they don't even believe that about Puerto Rico. And like it's so idiotic to me that people don't realize that any US territory means that anyone who lives there is a US citizen, but here we are.
I just leave it as it is. I just like, yeah, we're very much US citizens. It's like, oh, I never knew that. All right. You have a good day. And I just
Fair. Though, there's something I would like to ask about. Now, I know that in this live action remake, it was sort of vaguely set Caribbean. It wasn't like so specifically set and said like, oh, in the USVI. But
mhm.
The Little Mermaid live action, it was very much set Caribbean, meant to, a lot of the press release was very like, oh, we're trying to actually celebrate Caribbean culture, give some reference, obviously, dark skin, gorgeous.
Mhm.
Um, what was that like for y'all? Like, did you watch it? And if so, like, did you feel any kind of like, oh, I'm getting a Disney sense of Caribbean from it, or did it kind of feel a bit more like schlocky for you?
I mean, I definitely okay. So first of all, I definitely do appreciate what they were sure, but the concept of what they were trying to get at for it. I wouldn't say it gave off very Caribbean for me, and take it from somebody who's been down there for 25 years. It's been it's a lot different. I can tell you that much. Like when I came up to America, when I first moved up here about 2 years ago, I first of all, the cold, no, 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 hate it. But I see so many people go home, go back to my home. They go to other islands. I've seen them just like I've heard them complain so much, and it's like, I mean, we handle this very easily. We really do handle it very easily, And I don't really blame no one. At the same time, you wasn't raised in this environment. We were, so it's like that. When it comes to the Caribbean, you get a sense of more in touch with just the world now. You're more active. You're more actively around nature. You're more actively, gain a sense of actually getting understanding of what we do on a daily day basis, what we eat on a daily basis, versus naturally being up here. So yeah, as much as the movie did like try to shine a light on it, and I do appreciate that. I don't know. I didn't really feel that much from it.
I'm just genuinely curious about this. Like, I know that like music styles are also really different from island to island.
Mm-hmm.
Like, calypso started in Trinidad and reggae in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica. Is there a style of music that is specific to St. Croix?
So there is a style of music specific to St. Croix. Our style of music is also it also has to do with calypso as well too. But our style has to do with rhythm. Rhythm is, I guess you could say, in the format is as close to maybe like DJing. I guess you
Okay.
say in that, I guess you could think in that sense.
Hmm.
But our way of doing stuff is when you hear it, 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 it it's a very hard thing to describe. But when you hear it, the feeling that you get from it, you just feel alive in that
Hmm.
sense. With Jamaica, you hear reggae, and you feel a little bit empowered. You feel a little bit more calm in spirit. Calypso, you can get that same feeling as well too. But yeah, every island does have their own separate thing. Um, just recently, we just started the Virgin Islands now going doing their Christmas carnival that's going to be happening in December. They're taking inspiration from another island that's going to be introduced down there.
That's really cool. And here's a question for you, maybe a little bit more broadly than the USVI, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose amongst Caribbean islands, is there a
Mm-hmm.
sense of Caribbean community there? Or are people a little bit like, that's your islands, you go do what you're gonna do, we're gonna do what we're gonna do over here? Like, how does that normally shake down?
So that's a good one because there is a lot of people that's like, oh, you guys are this and you guys are US Virgin Islands. We don't really mess with you guys like that. Versus us will be like, we literally watch you guys chase people down the street with machetes. What do you mean? And we're the bad ones here. But in the same sense too, it's still a community to the point where if we could see people disrespecting us, best believe we're gonna stand up for ourselves. The Virgin Islands, in fact, is just like in a sense like the U.S. It's a melting pot for a lot of our other Caribbean cultures. Like we have people from Saint Lucia, Dominica, um, Montserrat, Trinidad. We have a lot of people that's from the other Caribbean islands that's moved down there, and so we got a lot of sense of everything.
I mean, just like the northern half of the continent, like you said, a melting pot, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming that you guys get a lot of people who come up from South America as well, like Brazil, Guyana, Suriname, they're all like right there on the, I think Venezuela's on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm sure like, and the Caribbean has always been a sort of cultural crosswinds. I mean,
It really has. It really has.
so what is the culture like in the Virgin Islands, like with being overweight? Like is overweight seen as a bad thing? Is it seen as being a bit more healthy and like kind of expected because this is an island, it's paradise, you're expected to overindulge. And also to that point, are there resources on the island for people who are big? Like if you go to a clothing store, are you able to find your size or are you having to like do mail order or something like that?
Hmm. When it comes to when it comes to that, I can say it's like a 50-50. And the reason why I'm saying that is because for me, I had a lot of family that growing up as well too. I was commented on my weight, and I mainly ignored it most of my life. I just never really focused on it when it came to them. And then there's certain people that's like, oh no, he helped. They'll look at, they'll hear, like, let's say you're me, and your mother tells you just like, you need to stop eating all these things. Look at you, you start, and then you hear somebody come across with it. Oh, you leave him alone. He doing just fine. He look healthy. It's very 50-50 when it comes to that aspect. Now, when it comes to having like clothing or resources to benefiting for you as well too. Clothing, yes. Do I say sometimes that due to how certain things are made, do you might have to order things online and ship it down? Absolutely. But most of the time, our clothing and everything like that is usually made to tailor anyone in any size, honestly. But also because of how we live down there, it's like, yes, you can be overweight, but yet now you're still eating certain things that are still healthy. Like for instance, let's see. We There's a Hispanic restaurant nearby where I used to live, called El Sol. I would get my chicharron, my rice, my coleslaw, my macaroni, my beans, everything like that. And then they have days where I might get that same thing. However, instead of rice, I do provision, and provision is ground food, for that we call it, which is just like very dried out food, anything like that. But then also we got a lot of us do a lot of planting. So you got, right now in my yard there's like two papaya trees. There's something we call a sugar apple tree. There's a soursop tree, the plum tree in the backyard. There's a lot. So it's not as if there aren't a lot of things that could still benefit my health there. But at the same time, you can't stop people from trying to have their opinions.
Well, and this might be kind of a complicated question. And again, I haven't been there since I was 18, but I do remember that
Mm,
while we were there and we were, going to be cooking and we went into a grocery store to buy things, like the prices were pretty high because so many things had to be imported.
mm-hmm.
And does that also affect the local population? Like, are there places that people who live on the island full time, who were raised there, who have no intention of leaving, can find affordable food, or are they paying those extremely exorbitant prices as well?
A lot of us are still paying those very extreme prices. Like it even has went up because of certain situations up here in the US. But most of the times we do still have to pay those high prices. But that's why a lot of people still taking up gardening right now, and there are a lot of food markets that's going on. That's in the middle of like our fairgrounds, where people could go and buy their stuff for cheap. Their banana, their plantain, their guava, their papaya, anything like that. They need any bush, they could go and buy that at our market, at the little market stations that they have at the moment, and it's pretty affordable for them as well too. So we found ways to kind of work around certain things, but yeah, as time change, money still rises.
That makes sense. And I will say, like, in terms of attitudes towards bodies and resources, I was curious to hear about it because growing up in Australia, I'm very familiar with Pacific Islanders, right? And
Hmm.
culturally, big bitches. Very, very big bitches genetically. They love to make them big and get them even bigger. Like, they are tall, they are broad, they are heavy, they do not float. They
Hmm.
love to swim, but they do not float. Love y'all out there, please. Be safe out there in the
I might
ocean,
be. I,
goddamn.
I am one of those people. I'm one of those people, unfortunately.
So
Oh,
I
do
was
you
kind of
sink like a rock?
I do very much think like a rock, but I will swim regardless.
But baby, you better paddle. You better kick them leggies. You better stroke them arms. You better,
That's
you
actually
better
kind of
fight the
impressive
tides.
because the salt content in the water is so high that it makes you buoyant.
Hmm.
Like, it forces you back up. Like, I have a hard time diving in that water. And so that's
Shh.
pretty impressive.
Then you better
Oh, trust me.
experience a Polynesian putting their full body weight on top of you because I tell you right now, that'll realign your chakras, your nakras, and everything else you got going on up in your respiratories. They will sort you right out. That is a dense human creature.
Mm.
So if we have any Pacific Islander listeners, hey, get into the DMs, please. But that's to say,
Fine, right here, right here. I'm available right now.
right there. But no, as I say, I was curious to be like, as a similar collection of people in an oceanic kind of a context, if there was like a similar vibe, because Polynesians grow so large, like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Western influence, there's some amount of like yeah, mindful of maybe foods and certain attitudes, but also to a certain extent, you look at them like the children that run around, they can look skinty, they can look teeny tiny, you just know good and goddamn well that somebody's gonna fucking put a pump in them when they hit puberty, and they are just gonna go upwards and outwards and depthwards and
Oh yeah.
because that's what happens. That's what happens in the islands. So yeah, it's interesting to see like there's some kinds of parallels with Caribbean, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but look, thank you for sharing all that. And I will ask here, because as you say, the USVI is attached to the US. When
Mm-hmm.
you think about your own gaming journey, your own access to things, obviously we know places like mainland America with Canada. We think about Europe with the UK and Germany, Australia even to an extent. Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
view gaming culture in these places where there's a higher density of gamers?
Hmm. That one, but that's I view it as a little bit like an eye opener because when you even if you like for people that want to check it out and see, there's not many gainers that in the Caribbean. You'll mainly find a lot of people that are hidden away, you know, but you won't really find gainers like that in the Caribbean. There, most people will wait until they are out of our environments to then just let loose.
Do you ever get any like gainers passing through on vacations, like on cruise ships or staying in the hotel? I mean, I would assume that gainers do vacation in that area, but I'm wondering if they ever like reach out and like try to find each other on any of the
Oh yeah.
islands while they're there.
Oh yeah, because I think my last year being there, I do remember a cruise ship came in and I was just checking it out just randomly one day on Grommr just to see, and I see that they had a couple of people that was nearby. And I was like, oh, I said, where did you people come from? And they didn't even take that long. With an instant, there they text me to say, hey, I'm in the area. Just like, oh, but you're in St. Thomas. I can't come over there, babes. I can't make it. I got a job to do. You can come to me.
Yeah. I can imagine it's frustrating. You know, again, privileges of living in London is so often people pass through town because it's a nexus
Mm-hmm.
point or people are here on holiday. But even then, you know, it's not always the easiest to make it work because I'm working a 9 to 5 and that's when they're free because they're walking around the city. They've got dinner plans. They don't need an extra hanger on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't always pan out. Um, but if I can ask, because I'd like to know more about, like, with so fewer people around, how do you create a sense of gaining community for yourself?
Hmm. That one is a little bit tough to really give an answer to because for myself, mm, growing like I said, growing up how I am, I always been a little bit bigger on this kind of side. Um, so I guess you could say in a sense, you always have people that always trying to get bigger, but then in the gayness sense, it wouldn't really be there. It just be for their own personal reasons and everything else. It wouldn't really be for that side. For me, but after discovering gain and everything, I kind of just took my own hand into it and just see what I could do on my own self, but my own time, I could say. But it's a little hard because there are a lot of people that kind of know what it is. They don't know really what's the purpose, what's the outcome, anything like that. So it's a little bit hard to kind of make a scene like that, honestly.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to pivot a little bit here, and you have kind of teased this a little bit
Mm-hmm.
already that you believe the food on St. Croix is a little bit better, perhaps, than some of the other islands. Now, I want you to dig deep here because I'd like to learn in this moment a little bit about the food itself, the food and the drink and the
Mm-hmm.
snacks. What would you say when you think about St. Croix culture, when you think about the food, the drink? What is your favorite snack, drink, and meal from the USVI?
Mm. If I have to say favorite drink, it has to be passion fruit. Getting a pure passion fruit juice, that is the best. That is the best.
I have to agree with you completely. I love the taste of passion fruit.
Mm-hmm. And I actually got some ground in the vine in my yard too. Um, snack wise, the snack wise is a little bit harder because a lot of snacks that we have still are US based stuff. But if you're looking for something that can be considered a snack, but I guess to other people will be considered a meal, is our pate. So our beef, our saltfish, our chicken, conch pate, those you can consider as a snack. Those, oh, I love my saltfish
Mm.
pate. Hmm.
Listen, I'm gonna claim that. That sounds delicious. That would take me to right now.
Listen, they have a bakery over here in Atlanta, where I'm currently at. It is a bakery that's known back in the Virgin Islands, but St. Croix. I will spend my $100 every time. I will spend it every time, and I will come back and I will not have no regrets until 2 weeks later when them bills come out. But other than that, I will
Yes.
not regret it for time being. And my favorite meal though. Now, this isn't really a St. Croix meal. However, though, it is something that I love each and every time, and that's just a roti. A roti, I love. I could go for one even right now.
And what is that?
Roti is basically a Trinidad. Is more of a Trinidad thing. Now, roti is, I guess you could say, is think of maybe some similar to a tortilla, where it's covered. However, though it's made with chickpea and flour, and the contents inside of it is usually potato and whatever meat, but it's usually curry. So it could be curry chicken, it could be a curry chicken roti, a boneless curry chicken roti, um, a curry goat, a curry beef.
So you said roti, and my mind went to like South Asian cuisine, right? Roti, like a
Mm-hmm.
bread, right? Though I will say, I have heard of bara as a bread that happens in the Caribbean. Not quite sure
Mm-hmm.
where it was from, but it's like a very sticky, like you've got to like coat your hands in oil in order to handle the dough
Mm.
because it's so sticky. But like you've got the hot pan and then like you kind of stretch it out a little bit. So I was curious, like if it was maybe something similar to that, or if that was maybe more of a USVI thing. But I'm gonna do a little more investigating. However, roti,
Mm-mm.
all that,
Mm-hmm.
give it to me, give it to me, give me the patty, give me that passion fruit juice. Absolutely.
So when you actually decided to start gaining, were there any like influences from St. Croix? Like were there things that were specific to the island, like cartoon characters or comic book characters or even public figures that you sort of looked to as any kind of inspiration?
Um, I wouldn't say any cartoon characters. I can't. Cartoon characters wise will just be like the regular stuff where you see with cartoons. The instant weight gain or anything like that. But people wise, now I will admit they were some people that I've been that growing up with. I used to watch them a little bit too long, and I was just like, because they are, yes, it is very attractive. I started my gaining journey maybe I think it was about 16, 17. That's when I actually fully started to say, let me give it a try and see if I enjoy myself. And now I am nothing but a walking pillow.
That's fabulous. Um, and I am curious, do you speak Virgin Islands Creole at all?
Well, I guess you could say if you could hear the accent, then you go. I guess in a sense you could say that I'm already speaking it at this time
Okay.
because our Creole is mainly broken English. So certain words that we say, some people will be like, "Oh, what do you mean? What did you just say? What do you mean?" So let's say, for instance, I tell you that I can't do something. Like if you give me a phone call, you tell me that, "Hey, can you do something for me?" I'll answer the phone, and tell you straight up, "No, I can't do that for you right now. I can't do that. You got to find somebody else to do that for you." Or I might see you out in public and be like, "Hey, what going on? Hey, what good?" Something like that. Or let me see, what's a good one? I'm gonna give you this. I'll give you this one. Do not use this without good context. I will say. Let's just say you're having a very bad argument with someone. A very famous line that is very Virgin Islands is telling somebody that there is a mother skunt. Mudaskunt. Mm-hmm. And you can use
Mudascunt.
you can use it in any kind of way. So argument wise, I could tell somebody, "Oh, you are dirty mother scum, move from me." And next thing you see, I'm out there in the street fighting.
I mean, to be fair, as an Australian, as you'll know, I love the word cunt. So, I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a cousin adopt there, like a little bit of mother scun every now and again, maybe. Because I feel like that would roll off the tongue. I feel like that would come out very easily for me. Ooh, okay.
Oh, and it does. It
Mm.
rolls off tongue very easily. We've been doing it for since we were young.
But I would be curious, and I know as you say, like maybe there's not a huge amount of community there, but when you think
Hmm.
about maybe phrases that you might use in Creole, like is there a way, like let's say a gainer comes to visit you, they're there for a little bit, they're having a good time, you get to catch up, and it's all good, and they want to say to you, "Oh, you look fat and fantastic, you look
Hmm.
great." Is there like something that you might say in the Virgin Islands Creole, or maybe not?
There isn't really something in Creole that we can say, honestly, because most of the time when you're hearing someone, well, I would say 70% of the time when you hear someone talking about your weight, it's generally not really a good thing. They're mainly just, kind of belittling you a little bit. But nah, I wouldn't say there's any real way to kind of express to someone that, they look good and anything like that. But if you find somebody down in the Virgin Islands, any of the Caribbean that enjoys you being a little bigger, oh, they'll let you know. They'll let you know. You'll get showered with love for it.
Fair, fair.
Mm. So what would you like to see change in the USVI gaming community? I mean, other than maybe just a few more people. I know you painted like a picture that there's not many there, but like what do you think could
Hmm.
facilitate change in the USVI gamer community?
I feel like so I feel like for that, people just need to be a little bit more comfortable with themselves. Um, back home is kind of like mm, I would say maybe like a popularity kind of thing, just a little bit. So some people are still not comfortable with themselves. Some people are not comfortable in their bodies. So I would love to see people be more comfortable with who they are, how they're shaped and everything like that. Maybe that could grow. Maybe that could grow a little bit more curiosity into getting more into the scene and the community. But it all depends on everyone trying to be more comfortable in their skin.
And listen, Joel, as a way to begin to close out this episode, what is an aspect of your life in the USVI that you wish more people would ask you about? What is an
Mhm.
aspect of the USVI that you want to talk about?
Hmm. I would say getting more into our events and how, around this time, how we do our things. Because, for instance, we have about two cruise ships that's going to be arriving in the Virgin Islands during our cruise and Christmas Carnival. And we got a lot of people, from the mainland and from other places that do like to enjoy in our festivities, but they kind of do it in the wrong ways. They kind of take advantage of how we do things, and and it can end up very bad. Um, I won't go into too much details about that because we have experienced a lot of kind of nonsense due to that. But however, though, I would love people to try to get more into the culture, understand how we do things, understand why we do the things that we do. And if you come down, just be respectful. You understand what you're doing. If you're coming down to live, I mean, hey, we're not gonna stop you. We're not gonna stop you. Welcome everyone with open arms.
Listen, Elijah, I want to say a massive thank you for your time today. This was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Where can our listeners find you online?
So they can find me on my Instagram page, which is gaining_baconator. That is my gaining page. My public page at the moment is down due to Instagram being Instagram, like
Hmm,
usual. Most of my other socials, I don't really be on social media as much like that.
it's all right.
Now, if you want to find me on Grommr, you can find me. I think the name should be Fat Cub 5. That's my name over there.
Well, there we go. Listen, y'all, that is a wrap now here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. Now, listen, if you like this episode, the podcast, our guest, or just us in general, share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at ThiccyMouse and Grommr at Orpheus. You can also find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or visit our website at podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you'd like to become a financial supporter of the show, you can donate through our PayPal account, and you can always email us at thiccradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Spotify podcast.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinzen.
With original theme music by CYMK.